More people, more homes, more traffic. Our Colorado is growing at a sometimes alarming rate.
And nowhere is that more true than in northern Colorado.
Denver 7's Russell Haythorne has more on the population explosion, the driving factors, and the tensions around it.
It's an iconic spot.
Since 1937, my grandfather opened it.
And then
Karen Rempel has been coming here since she could tie her own shoelaces.
It's really good shrimp.
It's just fresh.
So it's gonna be $13.34.
But while JB's Drive-In offers a window to our past, Greeley's future is growth, sometimes at warp speed.
When I grew up here, 23rd Avenue was the end of town.
The traffic, is crazy.
If you haven't noticed, Greeley and Fort Collins are experiencing an explosion of growth.
It has just been almost as consistent as gravity.
Greeley now has 107,000 people, Fort Collins 175,000, and the State Demographics Office is predicting both will double in size over the next 20 to 30 years.
Up here in northern Colorado, there's a new growing metro area that basically we'll affectionately refer to as NOCO.
When I moved to Greeley in 1971, we were 40,000 people. We're 107 today.
It's a hot spot in part because of Metro Denver's affordability crisis.
The alternative becomes northern Colorado, which is just 45 minutes away.
Richard Werner with Upstate Colorado says there's a common expression here: move until you can afford to stop. In Denver, people commonly move to the burbs to find cheaper homes. In northern Colorado, you start at the foothills and move east. In Fort Collins, the median home price is now $410,000. As you get further east, the values drop. In Windsor, the median home price is $380,000, and by the time you get to Greeley, the median price is $271,000. Still expensive, but $140,000 cheaper than Fort Collins. The unemployment rate in NOCO is lower than the state average, just 2.6%.
And that's good, but as we have growth, we need to have jobs.
The growth represents progress to some, a nightmare to others.
Depends on who you ask. Right?
The tensions associated with it are enormous.
Growth is pushing water resources to the brink and gobbling up farmland used to grow our food.
Lettuce and peppers and onions and carrots.
Don't take just anyone's word for it. Take it from a journalist who knows a few things about this area. My great-great-grandfather built this house north of Greeley and just outside of Eaton in 1904. And my first cousin Joey and his family still live here. And my other great-great-grandfather on the other side bought this house and this farm in 1914. This farm sits on the other side of Eaton, and my brother and his family still live here. My own family is conflicted about the growth.
Well, at first I was against the growth.
Growth is good for the economy because that means people are finding jobs. But from an agricultural perspective, it means the land is shrinking.
Well, maybe the next generation doesn't get an opportunity to farm, but that's okay. They can do something else, selling the land and the water.
They always say that the last crop you'll ever grow is rooftops.
So what's contributing to the growth? It's everything you might expect: the mountains, the sunshine, and a business environment second to none.
It's a beautiful place to live. I don't blame them for coming.
In Fort Collins, formerly small businesses like New Belgium Brewery and Otterbox have mushroomed into some of the most successful corporations in the world. Fort Collins doesn't even offer incentives packages to new businesses. It doesn't have to.
Our priority is business retention, actually, and expansion.
In Greeley and Weld County, businesses like a new Smucker's Uncrustables factory and Leprino Cheese are the driving forces.
The world's largest mozzarella cheese factory is on its third expansion.
Small business is booming too.
And let it all the way out, drop those arms. Good. Good job.
Alexia Peak launched her chiropractic clinic in Greeley 8 years ago. Since then, it's grown by 900%.
It's the people here and it's the leadership here that make it such an attractive place to live. There's blue collar, there's professionals, there's families, and they're all open to what I have to offer.
Alrighty, I'll just grab your signature piece.
Back at JB's.
So that's my grandfather, Jess Benjamin. They called him Jesse B.
The atmosphere seems to turn back time, offering diners a brief escape from the reality of their changing world.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
This story is already generating lots of conversation on Facebook, and we hear you. Sharon says, stop this ridiculous takeover by greedy developers. Craig says, I don't blame them for coming. Why wouldn't you want to live in Colorado? We mentioned water and traffic earlier. Coming up on Wednesday night at 10, we're taking a 360 look at these two critical infrastructure needs in northern Colorado, a region that some say is already tapped out. And Shannon, back to you.
Good stuff.
Great
Thanks, Ross.
information. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Ann Trujillo, and voters could make Denver the first city in the country to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms.
There are plenty of people who would be happy to see this happen. Others believe it's a long, strange trip the Mile High City can't afford to take.
Obviously, this is uncharted territory, and if we're going to explore it, nothing less than the full 360 treatment will do. So here is Denver 7's Russell Haythorne.
If you've ever been to a show at Red Rocks, you may have seen concert goers using club drugs. But do those drugs have a place here?
You have 1 minute to sign a petition to decriminalize mushrooms in Denver.
People shouldn't be going to prison for a plant.
It's a terrible idea. Denver is quickly becoming the illicit drug capital of the world.
Tonight, we're going 360 with the man who has high hopes of taking the measure to the May ballot, the director of the think tank who says Denver is heading down a dangerous drug-induced path, the patient with terminal brain tumors who says shrooms changed his life, and the casual user who says they're non-addictive.
People can only sign it in your presence, and you have to physically watch them sign it.
We start with Kevin Matthews, who headed up the group collecting signatures.
Denver has a strong history of drug policy reform.
He's taking his lead from the legalization of pot.
We modeled our language after cannabis legislation in 2005 and 2007.
Matthews says shrooms have helped him break his own cycle of depression.
Mushrooms have enabled me to look outside the box that depression creates. It's a nonviolent drug.
But Jeff Hunt is calling his bluff.
This is a psychedelic drug where you're typically going to go into some type of trip that can last anywhere from 3 to 6 hours.
Hunt heads up a public think tank at Colorado Christian University. He wonders how far it will all go. First weed, then supervised injection sites, and now decriminalizing psychedelic shrooms.
The truth is, we have no idea what the long-term health impact of these drugs are going to do to the people of Colorado.
While the Denver Chamber and the Downtown Denver Partnership have taken no position yet, Hunt sees a definite economic downside.
At a certain point, parents are going to look at the city of Denver and go, I don't want to take my kids to that city. I don't think tourists are going to want to come to this state.
The matrix gets even more complex with patients like Chris, who has end-stage spinal and brain tumors.
The mushrooms seem to have calmed them better than any drugs that they've been able to give me. I'm not saying it's a panacea or that it's for everyone. I just want to be comfortable.
And still others argue shrooms are less habit-forming than opioids and other drugs.
See the therapeutic benefits that are available and create an environment where people can talk about setting and dose.
Read us more. Those 9,000 signatures are now under review as the future of fungus fuels a fiery debate.
It is a medicine.
I'm concerned we're going in the wrong direction, rather than really encouraging people to lead healthy and productive lives.
He thought he was taking a party drug. Minutes later, he was dead. His sister and friend violently ill. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tom Mustin.
And I'm Jacqueline Allen. This is especially a concern with New Year's Eve just around the corner because as Denver 7's Jackie Crea reports, people using drugs may not get what they signed up for.
My brother absolutely loved the Marvel characters.
Chloe Price won't tell you her brother was a hero, but he was to her family. A normal 33-year-old guy, Jacob Morton, was trying to find his way, but made a deadly mistake the weekend of December 1st.
And we went to the club. It was very exciting, and we got there about 10:45.
Chloe, her roommate, and brother Jacob went to Beta nightclub in downtown Denver to dance the night away. And with a little help from an illegal drug they say they've taken many times before, MDA, known on the streets as Sally, the parent drug to ecstasy and closely related to Molly.
So the music, the lights in the club, it stimulates you, so you get better and higher at that time. So you're happy, you want to dance.
But all three of them, she says, had bad reactions to the drug. Chloe started throwing up and says she and a roommate were kicked out of the club and both ended up in the hospital, separated from her brother Jacob.
I had taken more than my roommate. I wasn't really understanding what was going on, why my brother ended up having such a severe reaction. I'm here in the hospital.
Mitchell Gomez with Dance Safe, a nonprofit focused on health and safety in the electronic music community, says this happens often.
I think it's important to qualify that the only totally safe choice is to not use substances.
But all over the country, his volunteers set up at different events to test for bad drugs to help keep partiers as safe as possible.
Lethal doses of opiates showing up in non-opiate drugs is happening. It's happening for sure. It's happening quite often.
Chloe believes the drugs they took were laced with something deadly. She never saw her brother alive again.
He actually collapsed, his knees buckled, collapsed, he had a stroke, and then he passed away. His heart basically couldn't take the drugs.
A few weeks later, Beta Nightclub's management announced it would close its doors, saying it was time to reset and reflect. And in a separate statement, Denver 7 says their closure is not related to Jacob Morton's death.
Everybody should test everything they get every time, and this is a really good example of why you should do that. However, the person that did manufacture this did that with malicious intent.
She hopes sharing her brother's story can help save lives.
He had a really bright future ahead of him, but unfortunately, he's gone now, and I just want to kind of prevent this from happening to anybody else.
In Denver, Jackie Crea, Denver 7.
And Denver police are still looking into this. We won't know the official cause of death until the toxicology report is released. If you're interested in learning more about the program we mentioned, you can find this story on thedenverchannel.com.
So, as you know, opening day typically is a nightmare for traffic and parking in Lodo.
And that is where Denver 7's Russell Haythorne is. And Russell, the snow really kind of tempered those issues today.
Yeah, it did, and it was still really high to park in these lots close to the stadium. About $60 to $80 for opening day when it typically runs $20 to $30. But that delayed start for the game really gave fans a lot of time to get here, spreading out the congestion.
Today is opening day for the Colorado Rockies.
On a day when she thought she might be in shorts and a t-shirt, parking attendant Zena Nurl.
Hello, folks. All right.
Is making the most of it.
Oh, it's going well. A little cold, but it's all right. It's Denver.
And on a day when parking is usually a major headache.
None at all. None at all.
Traffic is hardly an issue.
How are you today?
I love your enthusiasm.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Zena and thousands of Rockies fans braved the cold and snow for an opening day like few we've ever seen.
Why would you want the same thing, predictability every day? You never know what you're going to get. That's why we live here.
It's
a little snowy.
Oh, yes. Good weather, bad weather. We still have to play on the first day.
Making the most of it.
I could have picked a better spot today.
On baseball's big day.
Best time of the year. But I love it. I love it. Have a good time, folks.
As for what's happening right now outside Coors Field, a lot of fans are leaving at this point, even though it's only the 6th inning. They're still playing ball inside because of that delayed start, but some of these fans, maybe fair-weathered fans, they can't handle the cold. We're live outside Coors Field. Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
It is in the 20s out there. It's cold.
All right, thanks for that. Right now, head over to thedenverchannel.com. We have a slideshow for you of the snow, of the fans, of all things Rockies and their home opener today.